This is the best FPL team for game week 1 this season. Just look at that team rating. If you want to get off to a good start this season, this may be the team for you. In goal, we have Sanchez and Dubravka. Dubravka, obviously the backup here, the only playing 4 million keeper. He has a little injury at the moment, but he's going to play this season. Sanchez is probably the best of the 5.0 goalkeepers. There are a couple of others there that you could pick, for example, Sells, but Chelsea have fantastic fixtures in the first few games. Palace at home, Fulham at home, Brighton at home. Very solid clean sheet opportunities. Now moving into the defence, and we start with a double up on Tottenham. Who would have been saying that last season? But this year, it could be viable. A few of our excellent guests on the channel over the course of pre-season have chosen 2 Tottenham defenders, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't understood it. However, watching the Super Cup the other day between Tottenham and PSG, Porro, Van de Ven and Romero all returned, which was pretty unbelievable. I couldn't quite believe what I was watching, and legitimately, I think you could pick any of them, which sounds crazy to say, but yeah, Porro and Van de Ven are in this team. I think Porro especially is the standout here. He was on everything in that game. He took corners, he took a direct free kick. With Maddison out of the side, it seems like he is going to be that player. And importantly, they played a back 5 against PSG. Now, I don't expect them to do that in every game. However, if we remember back to Thomas Frank's Brentford, in big games against better opposition, such as PSG, he would pretty much always play with a back 5, a 5-3-2, with wing-backs, of course, and Mbeumo, normally a winger, playing more inside as a second striker or even an out-and-out striker. This could be great for players like Porro, even in games, for example, game week 2, City away, and Jed Spence or Udogie, whoever plays on that left side. But also for players like Kudus, because if he is playing as a right winger, normally, but then comes inside and plays in that Mbeumo second striker role against the bigger teams, he could have routes to points in those games as well. Next up is Milenkovic of Forest. I think that having a Forest defender in your team for the start of the season is very important, to be honest. I think their fixtures are just too good to ignore. Just look at those home games. Look at 4 of those first 6 fixtures. Brentford at home, West Ham at home, Burnley away, Sunderland at home. I don't care if you think Forest are going to regress. They're going to get at least 1 or 2 clean sheets in those games, surely. And we know how attacking Milenkovic can be from set pieces. I think the actual debate is whether you go for Milenkovic or you go for another Nottingham Forest defender. I think Murillo is a fantastic pick. I also love Williams at that cheaper price point. Milenkovic is in this team for the attacking returns. I would probably just about favour Murillo because I think his returns are more consistent. He's better for bonus points and, of course, better for defensive contributions, which I think is going to be a little bit more consistent this season. On screen, you can see a wonderful stats table ranking all defenders by their defensive contribution points last year if they were a thing in FPL last season. And you can see their tackles and all their CBIs as well to really gauge how good these defenders might be this year. And Murillo is second. Milenkovic isn't to be seen. That's why I think I'd probably go for Murillo, but in this team, the AI has favoured Milenkovic. It's worth mentioning as well, if you do want to see all these tables, I mean, there's defending, there's attacking, there's creativity, there's literally everything you could ever want in a stats table. Link is down below to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. Rounding off the defence then, we have Chris Richards from Palace and Reinildo from Sunderland. I like the Richards pick. I'm not 100% sure on him myself because I think there is a little bit of uncertainty at Palace just with Gay. If he moves on, which it looks like he may well do at the time of recording, to Liverpool or even somewhere else, I think that does massively impact the Palace defence. Richards, though, is great for defensive contributions. And after a tricky start to the season in terms of fixtures, they get very good quite quickly. This doesn't really tell the whole picture, but there are 2 very good home games in there where if you wanted to, he could come into the team. I think he's perfect to sit on your bench. Reinildo as well will be a solid option. You're not going to play him that often, but look at those first 3 fixtures. If something happens to one of your players and you want to play him, or if you're eyeing up an early bench boost, Reinildo could be a good option. Jumping into the midfield then, and Salah is in. Now, I was going to say he's of course in. However, I do want to speak about him a little bit, just because Haaland isn't in this team. And I've seen a few of your guys' comments. You think that, and I agree, maybe we're overlooking this debate a little bit too much. However, I think that Salah just is clearly a better option. If we look at the fixtures, I think he is the best captain option in Game Week 1, also in Game Week 4 and Game Week 5, which is a big thing in FPL. Also, I think it's worth noting that he gets so many more points per goal over the course of a season. It's very important, that extra point per goal. And if we do expect Liverpool to keep a couple of clean sheets, he gets an extra point there as well. Haaland, realistically, is almost having to score 1.5 goals for every goal that Salah scores to keep up with him. And I just think you're betting against Salah too much by going with Haaland. That's my personal opinion, but if you want to go with Haaland, he's still a great option. Let's look at all the players ranked by predicted points over the first 4 game weeks. Haaland is second, but that 5-point disparity doesn't sound like much. It's quite a lot. That being said, would I be shocked if Haaland scored 6-7 goals in the first 6 weeks? Absolutely not. Next up, we have, I think, the most interesting pick in this entire team. It's Bukayo Saka. What's his ownership these days? Under 20% for Saka. That is because the vast majority of managers are going for Palmer. His ownership is up at 55% plus. However, Saka is in this team because of game week 2 in particular. Leeds at home. An absolutely plum fixture. Let's have a look at the fixture table and I'll explain why Saka has to be in this team. Here are the fixtures for game week 2, sorted by the easiest. And if you want a fast start in FPL this year, I think it might be quite important to have an Arsenal attacker in your side to captain against Leeds at home. Just running down the table, where is your next captain option if you're not going with an Arsenal attacker? There's City there in 9th, Tottenham at home. That might be okay. If you have Haaland, I suppose you could do that. Let's continue down the table. Chelsea, West Ham away. Are you going to captain Palmer in that game? I'm not sure. London Derby, that worries me a little bit as a Chelsea fan. Let's carry on. United, Fulham away, Bruno Fernandes? I don't think so. And then we're getting all the way down to 18th, where you find Salah's Liverpool, Newcastle away. You have to think about game week 2. I don't have Saka in my team. I think I might be missing something because who am I going to captain in this week? Captaincy is a huge part of FPL, and going without an Arsenal attacker at home to Leeds is very scary. The player I just mentioned, Bruno Fernandes, is the 3rd midfielder. He just is so good for consistent points. He's got so many routes to points. We know what he is. He's such a known quantity. He's on penalties. He'll be on all the set pieces. Yes, he is going to be playing deeper this year, which I think for my personal team is enough not to have him in. I think I would just about rather go for Palmer or Florian Wirtz. But in terms of the predicted points, you can see just how high he is. He is the sort of player that you just put in your team and forget about until you wildcard. It's also worth noting, game week 3, Burnley at home. Potential captaincy shout when Salah has Arsenal. The 2 cheaper midfielders to round this team off are Iliman and Dye and Yuri Tielemans. No place for Anderson in this side, which is a real shame if you're an analytics fan, but Ndai is in. He was one that was in a lot of teams early on in pre-season, then he left quite a few, but now Fantasy Football Hub is really liking him once again. There's a little bit of a concern, or at least there was, about his potential position or minutes going into the season with Grealish and Dewsbury Hall coming in. I'm not 100% sure on that because I think if he does play off the right, which he may do, then I don't necessarily know how he'll do in that position. According to Everton fans, though, his position is very safe on the left. It will be Grealish who goes into the number 10 position. Dewsbury Hall will drop into a double pivot with whoever the other midfielder is, and then the right winger can be anyone. I'm not sure about that, to be completely honest, but Ndai is still a great pick, and we do expect him to be on penalties. And then finally, Yuri Tielemans is pretty much, in my opinion, a mini Bruno Fernandes. Very consistent for minutes, may have a little bit of penalty share, take some set pieces, and might be good for recoveries, DEFCON contributions for midfielders as well. Very good fixtures for Tielemans too. That is the midfield. And then finally, 21 million to spend on the forwards. And of course, Watkins has to be in there. He is locked in my team. I don't understand this debate, Watkins versus Bruno Fernandes personally. I just think Watkins is a much better FPL pick. Clearly, Fantasy Football Hub doesn't agree with me because Bruno Fernandes is ahead on predicted points than Watkins, but I'm not sure it's as close as that even. I just think Watkins is better. Look at those fixtures, right? Newcastle at home. Newcastle are in absolute turmoil, by the way. I don't think you can get a better time to play them. Brentford away, brand new side, brand new manager. Palace at home, Everton away, and then look at those next 3. Absolutely glorious fixtures, and it gets better after that. I think Watkins is a dead cert in my team, and I'm happy that his ownership is as low as under 25%. And then rounding this team off, we have Mateta and of course Mark Guiu as our bench option. Mateta is in for the safety, I think. He is the 3rd highest scoring forward in terms of predicted points over the first 4 game weeks. Higher even than Ekitike, higher than Gyökeres, higher than Joao Pedro. Why is that? Well, he's a very known quantity. We expect him to play 90 minutes. I think he will be on penalties now. I'm pretty confident on that. Yes, you could have thought it was Eze before, but he missed one in the shootout. Mateta took one in the game and then scored his in the shootout in the Community Shield, that is. So I think he will be on penalties. And from a Palace point of view, I think actually these opening fixtures, although they might not seem great on paper, Chelsea away, Villa away, they could suit a team like Palace. You think about them against Liverpool, sort of on the break, transitional, they sort of sit in against the bigger teams and then do well counter-attacking. I think that's great for Chelsea. I think that's great for Villa as well. Mateta, Sarr, those sort of players could get a lot of joy in those games early on. So there we go. That is the team. A team rating, as you saw in the intro, of 98%. If I was comparing this team to every other team I've seen in pre-season, from the best FPL managers in history, the likes of Ben Crellin, the #1 ranked manager of all time, last year's winner, Lovro, the year before's winner, Jonas, this goes right to the very top of the leaderboard. That is how good this team is. If you think your team can beat that, well, find out your team rating. Link to do so for free is down below. Then, if you want to keep up with the very best AI team throughout the season, sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. It's that time now. We're very, very close to the deadline. If you want to win at FPL this year, then you need to be a Fantasy Football Hub member. It is 50% off right now too. Also, you've heard me say it before, but I'm going to say it again. If you do not win your mini league this year and you're a new paying customer to the website, you will get all your money refunded to you. That is an insane deal. We are so confident that if you use Fantasy Football Hub, you will win your mini league, that if you don't, all your money will be refunded. We refunded hundreds of you last year. We're going to do the same again next year, probably thousands next year, to be honest. And I'm not sure how long this deal is going to keep running. It's crippling us. So take advantage of it while you still can.